Yeah, 25 years. It's wild. I'm 60 now. It's amazing. And it's also amazing that I went to school around here and I graduated valedictorian.
The top of your game, living your dream, when suddenly your own body turns against you. Picture having to watch everything you worked for slip away, not because you weren't good enough, but because life had other plans. This is the heartbreaking story of Robby Benson, a beloved actor whose journey from teen heartthrob to heart surgery survivor will leave you speechless. What would you do if doctors told you that the very thing keeping you alive was slowly killing you? How would you handle being told that your dreams had to end because your body could no longer keep up? Today, we're diving into the incredible yet tragic story of Robby Benson, a man who faced his darkest moments with courage that will inspire you. Let me take you back to the 1970s, when Robby Benson was the name on everyone's lips. Born Robin David Siegel on a cold January day in 1956, this young man from Dallas, Texas, had no idea that he would become one of Hollywood's most beloved teen stars. His parents, Frida and Jerry, were creative souls who filled their home with music, stories, and dreams. His mother sang and acted, while his father wrote beautiful stories, giving young Robby a front-row seat to the world of entertainment. When Robby was just 5 years old, his family packed up their entire life and moved to the bright lights of New York City. Can you imagine being that young and having your whole world change? But sometimes, the biggest changes lead to the most amazing opportunities. New York was like a playground for someone who loved acting, and little Robby was about to discover just how much this city would shape his future. Here's something that might surprise you. When Robby decided to become an actor, he chose to use his mother's last name, Benson, instead of his father's name, Siegel. He was only 10 years old when he made this choice, showing just how much he loved and respected his mom. It was a decision that would follow him throughout his entire career. Now, get ready for this amazing fact. While most kids his age were still figuring out what they wanted to be when they grew up, Robby was already graduating high school. At just 14 years old, he finished at the top of his class and became the valedictorian. Can you believe that? Most teenagers are worried about passing their next math test, but Robby was already moving on to the next chapter of his life. His first taste of Hollywood came when he was still very young. In 1967, he appeared in a movie called Wait Until Dark, but his part was so small that his name didn't even appear in the credits. He was just a kid throwing a ball, but sometimes the smallest beginnings lead to the biggest dreams. That tiny role was like planting a seed that would grow into an incredible career. The early 1970s were magical years for Robby. He wasn't just appearing in movies. He was also performing on Broadway stages in New York. Imagine standing in front of hundreds of people under those bright lights, feeling the energy of a live audience. He performed in plays like Zelda and The Rothschilds, learning how to connect with people through his acting. Television also welcomed him with open arms. He joined a popular soap opera called Search for Tomorrow, where millions of people watched him on their TV screens every day from 1971 to 1972. This was his chance to really show the world what he could do, and boy, did he deliver. But it was the movies that really made Robby Benson a household name. In 1976, he starred in Ode to Billy Joe, playing a character that touched the hearts of audiences everywhere. This wasn't just another teen movie. It was a story about real emotions and real struggles that young people could relate to. When people watched Robby on screen, they saw themselves, their dreams, and their fears. The following year brought One-on-One, a movie that was extra special because Robby didn't just act in it. He also helped write the story alongside his father. Imagine working with your dad to create something beautiful that the whole world would see. It must have been an incredible bonding experience that brought them even closer together. Then came 1978 and Ice Castles, a movie that would test Robby in ways he never expected. The role required him to learn how to ice skate, something he had never done before. Most actors might have used a stunt double, but not Robby. He spent weeks learning how to glide across the ice, how to stop without falling, and even how to play ice hockey. His dedication to making his character feel real was absolutely amazing. Here's something that will blow your mind. In 1975, Robby actually auditioned for one of the most famous movie roles in history. He tested for the part of Luke Skywalker in Star Wars. Just imagine how different movie history might have been if he had gotten that role instead of Mark Hamill. While he didn't land the part, the fact that he was even considered shows just how talented and respected he was in Hollywood. The late 1970s and early 1980s saw Robby taking on all kinds of different roles. He appeared in comedies like Die Laughing and serious dramas like The Chosen, based on a beloved book. Critics praised his gentle way of bringing characters to life, noting how he could make audiences care about the people he played on screen. In 1983, Robby took on perhaps his most physically challenging role yet. He played Billy Mills, an Olympic runner, in Running Brave. To prepare for this part, Robby didn't just learn his lines. He actually trained like a real Olympic athlete. He even ran the New York City Marathon, finishing in just over 3 hours. That's faster than most people could ever dream of running 26.2 miles. His commitment to authenticity was simply incredible. But then came 1991, and with it, the role that would make Robby Benson immortal in the hearts of children and adults around the world. Disney chose him to be the voice of the Beast in their animated masterpiece, Beauty and the Beast. When you heard that deep, powerful yet gentle voice singing "Something There" or pleading with Belle, you were hearing Robby Benson pour his heart and soul into every word. This wasn't just voice acting. This was pure magic. Robby brought such emotion and depth to the Beast that you could feel the character's pain, loneliness, hope, and love. Children who watched this movie fell in love with the story partly because of how real Robby made the Beast feel. Even today, decades later, when people hear the Beast's voice, they think of Robby Benson. His voice work continued with Exo Squad, an animated series that took him into the world of science fiction. Here was an actor who could go from Disney fairy tales to futuristic battles, showing just how versatile and talented he truly was. But while Robby's career was soaring to new heights, something was happening inside his body that would change everything. As a teenager, doctors had discovered that he had a heart murmur, which meant his heart didn't sound quite right when they listened to it with a stethoscope. At the time, it didn't seem like a big deal. Heart murmurs are actually pretty common, and many people live their entire lives without any problems. However, as Robby reached his late 20s, strange things started happening. He would feel dizzy for no reason. Sometimes he would even faint, which was scary and confusing. These weren't the kinds of problems you'd expect a young, healthy actor to have. Something was clearly wrong, and it was getting worse. In 1984, when Robby was just 28 years old, doctors delivered news that would change his life forever. The heart murmur he'd had since he was a teenager was actually a sign of something much more serious. He had been born with a defective heart valve, something called a bicuspid aortic valve defect. This meant that one of the most important parts of his heart wasn't working the way it should. Think of your heart valves like doors that open and close to let blood flow through your heart. When these doors don't work properly, your heart has to work much harder to pump blood to the rest of your body. Over time, this extra work can damage the heart and even become life-threatening. The doctors told Robby that he would need open-heart surgery to fix the problem. Can you imagine being 28 years old at the peak of your career and being told that surgeons would need to open up your chest and operate on your he or tiny? It must have been absolutely terrifying. In October 1984, Robby underwent his first open-heart surgery. The doctors replaced his damaged valve with one from a cow, which might sound strange, but these bovine valves actually work very well in human hearts. The surgery was successful, and for about 15 years, Robby was able to continue his career and live a relatively normal life. But heart problems have a way of coming back, and in the year 2000, Robby's bovine valve began to fail. Once again, he found himself facing the operating table for a second open-heart surgery. This time, doctors performed something called the Ross procedure, where they used Robby's own pulmonary valve to replace his damaged aortic valve. It's an incredible feat of medical science, basically moving parts of the heart around to fix the problem. You might think that 2 heart surgeries would be enough for anyone to handle, but Robby's journey was far from over. After the Ross procedure, he began experiencing terrible breathing problems that lasted for 6 long years. Imagine trying to breathe normally and feeling like you can't get enough air no matter what you do. Simple activities that most of us take for granted, like walking upstairs or even having a conversation, became exhausting struggles. In 2006, Robby had to undergo a 3rd open-heart surgery to try to figure out what was causing his breathing problems. It was during this operation that doctors discovered something shocking. The previous surgery had actually caused his aortic valve to buckle and close, which was why he couldn't breathe properly. The very procedure that was supposed to help him had created a new problem. This discovery led to a 4th surgery in 2010, something called a reverse Ross procedure. Imagine having your chest opened up 4 different times, each surgery carrying the risk that you might not wake up. By this point, Robby had become an expert on heart surgery, but not by choice. Each operation was a reminder of how fragile life can be and how quickly everything can change. The emotional toll of these surgeries was just as difficult as the physical pain. Robby has spoken openly about something called post-surgical cardiac depression, which affects many people who have heart surgery. It's not just being sad about being sick. It's a deep, overwhelming sadness that can make it hard to see hope for the future. Robby described how the surgeries became less frightening over time, not because they were easier, but because he had been through them so many times. He said that while doctors still had to cut his chest right down the middle, he no longer thought about it as life-threatening. It was still incredibly tough, but he had developed a kind of courage that can only come from facing your worst fears over and over again. What makes Robby's story even more heartbreaking is what these health struggles cost him professionally. The physical demands of acting, especially in movies, became impossible for someone dealing with such serious heart problems. The long days on movie sets, the stress of memorizing lines and hitting marks, the physical requirements of different roles, all of these, things that had once brought him joy, became obstacles he could no longer overcome. Slowly but surely, Robby had to step away from the acting career that had defined his life since he was a child. This wasn't a choice he made because he was tired of acting or because he wanted to try something new. His own body was forcing him to give up the thing he loved most in the world. But here's what makes Robby Benson truly special. He refused to let his circumstances defeat him. Instead of becoming bitter or giving up on life, he found new ways to share his talents and help others. He became a professor at several prestigious universities, including New York University, the University of Utah, the University of South Carolina, and Indiana University. He took all the knowledge and experience he had gained from decades in Hollywood and used it to teach the next generation of actors and filmmakers. Imagine sitting in a classroom and having Robby Benson as your teacher. You'd be learning from someone who had worked with Disney, who had been on Broadway, who had starred in beloved movies, and who understood both the magic and the challenges of the entertainment industry. Robby also channeled his experiences into writing. In 2007, he published a novel called Who Stole the Funny, which became a bestseller. The book gave readers a behind-the-scenes look at Hollywood, filled with the wit and insight that could only come from someone who had lived it. But perhaps his most important work came in 2012 when he published his medical memoir, I'm Not Dead Yet. The title alone shows Robby's incredible sense of humor and determination. Here was a man who had faced death multiple times on the operating table, who had been forced to give up his dreams, and who dealt with ongoing health challenges every single day. And he could still find reasons to laugh and hope. The book chronicled his entire journey with heart disease, from that first diagnosis at 28 to his multiple surgeries and ongoing recovery. But it wasn't just a medical story. It was a story about resilience, about finding meaning when life doesn't go according to plan, and about the power of love and family to carry us through our darkest moments. Speaking of family, Robby found incredible happiness in his personal life, even as his professional life was being derailed by his health problems. In 1982, he married Carla DeVito, a talented singer and actress. They met while performing together in The Pirates of Penzance, and their shared love of music and theater brought them together. Carla became not just Robby's wife, but his partner in facing all the challenges that lay ahead. She stood by him through every surgery, every recovery, every setback, and small victory. Together they raised 2 children, a daughter named Lyric born in 1983, and a son named Zephyr born in 1992. Even their children's names reflect their love of music and creativity. Robby has also used his platform to become an advocate for heart health awareness. In 2004, he wrote, composed music for, and starred in an off-Broadway play called Open Heart. This wasn't just entertainment. It was education and inspiration, using his own story to help others understand what it's like to live with heart disease. He has spoken openly about the importance of recognizing that recovery from heart surgery isn't just physical. The emotional and mental aspects of healing are just as important, something that doctors didn't always understand in the past. Today, partly because of advocates like Robby, medical professionals are much better at helping patients deal with the psychological challenges that come with serious illness and major surgery. What's truly remarkable about Robby's story is how he maintained his physical fitness even while dealing with such serious health problems. He took up swimming and running, finding ways to stay active and strong despite his heart condition. This wasn't easy. Imagine trying to exercise when your heart doesn't work properly. But Robby understood that staying active was crucial for both his physical and mental health. The sadness in Robby's story isn't just about the pain he endured or the surgeries he survived. It's about all the roles he never got to play, all the movies he never got to make, all the dreams that had to be put aside because his body couldn't keep up with his ambitions. When most actors his age were hitting their stride and taking on their most challenging and rewarding roles, Robby was fighting just to stay alive. But there's also incredible beauty in how he chose to respond to these challenges. Rather than retreating from the world or feeling sorry for himself, he found new ways to contribute and make a difference. His teaching has inspired countless young actors. His writing has touched readers around the world. His advocacy has helped other heart patients feel less alone in their struggles. Today, at 69 years old, Robby Benson continues to inspire people with his courage and determination. He practices transcendental meditation, which helps him find peace and balance in his daily life. He remains close to his family, who have been his constant source of strength throughout all his trials. Recently, he even returned to acting with a recurring role in the Apple TV series Severance, proving that while his career may have taken an unexpected path, his talent and passion for storytelling remain as strong as ever. It must have felt incredible to be back in front of cameras again, even in a limited capacity. Robby's story reminds us that life rarely goes according to our plans. We might dream of one future and end up living something completely different. The question isn't whether we'll face challenges. We all will. But how we'll choose to respond when those challenges come. Some people might have given up after the first surgery, or the second, or the third. Some might have become angry at the world for taking away their dreams. But Robby Benson chose a different path. He chose to find new dreams, new ways to share his gifts, and new reasons to keep fighting. His voice as the Beast will live forever in the hearts of Disney fans around the world. His performances in movies like Ice Castles and Ode to Billy Joe continue to touch new generations of viewers. But perhaps his greatest performance has been his real life, showing us all how to face impossible odds with grace, more, and unwavering determination. The devastating news that Robby received at 28 could have ended his story right there. Instead, it became the beginning of a different kind of story. One about resilience, about finding light in darkness, and about the incredible strength of the human spirit. When you think about Robby Benson now, don't just remember him as the teen heartthrob or the voice of the beast. Remember him as a man who faced his worst fears and came out stronger on the other side. Remember him as someone who turned his greatest challenges into his greatest sources of strength. His journey teaches us that sometimes the most devastating news can also be the beginning of the most inspiring stories. It shows us that when life forces us to change direction, we can choose to see it not as an ending, but as an unexpected beginning. Robby Benson's story is far from over. Every day that he wakes up, every moment he spends with his family, every student he teaches, and every person he inspires with his story is proof that even when our bodies betray us, our spirits can soar higher than ever before. If Robby's incredible journey has moved you the way it's moved me, please show your support by hitting that like button. His story deserves to be heard by as many people as possible, so please share this video with your friends and family. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel and ring that notification bell so you never miss another inspiring story like this one. In the comments below, let us know what part of Robby's story inspired you most. Was it his courage in facing multiple surgeries? His dedication to his craft? Or perhaps his ability to find new purpose when his original dreams were challenged? We'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you for joining us today. And we'll see you in the next video with another incredible human story that will remind you of the amazing resilience we all carry within us.